And there are persons with disability, we should say. And let me say happy birthday to Reverend Gabriel Ni Otu Ankra, and to you, Mother Joyce Clotte. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday. If it's yours as well, happy birthday. Gentlemen, welcome. Thank you very much. Happy New Year. This is Fatal's story. I start with you, Jalil, Inclusion Ghana. How come he was excluded for a very, very long time, and until the Good Samaritan found him, he was just wandering about 14 years in class 3? That's a no-no.
That's right. It turns out that in a lot of communities, this is the case for a lot of people. It's just that either there's not enough support systems in the classroom, for which reason, if this child goes in there, he's not fitting. We have created, a classroom environment or a school system where it is the child who should rather fit, rather than the school the system making sure it fits with the child. So I think that this story is not, it's not a very rare story. It's very common.
It's all over.
It's all over the place.
Right. Why do we have a widespread of this? If we have an education ministry, we have a desk at the ministry that's talking about this. Why should we have a widespread of such?
Yeah, well, for me, it tells me that the search engine within our social policy environment is not that effective, because in all these, we have classified vulnerability at different levels. And even if you see children who are below the age of 18 years, they are vulnerable by law. So there are certain level of protection that you have to give to them.
Right.
And even if you go within the 18 years, there are people who are more vulnerable, especially those persons with disability and all that. So we have given responsibilities to, first of all, parent, to disclose some of these things to society. And society must also pick it up and then give it to the appropriate institutions mandated by law to deal with it. So if all these structures are not doing it, then it means that there's something wrong that we need to correct.
In Fatal's case, his parents didn't take him to school.
Exactly.
He lives in the community. There's an Odikro, there's a chief, there's an assemblyman, whatever it is. And they all watched and looked on.
Exactly. That's what the problem is.
What can we do to them to make sure that in future we don't have another Fatal lurking around somewhere?
I think that the policy environment must be very effective, to ensure that people understand the context in which we even make certain policies. Because for me, if you look at the policies and the act that we have about persons with disability, it's so strong to the extent that even it builds certain pillars in terms of even resourcing them to do certain activities and all that. And we have attached that to a statutory fund, which of course it means that you cannot deny them, and if you do so, you can go to court to enforce it and all that. But the point is, how do we ensure that people who are supposed to benefit from it, we look for them so that we make a case that these are people who are supposed to benefit from it? Because the assembly, sometimes government institutions are reluctant to do so because they don't want to spend those monies. But the community, including the chiefs and all those people, must make a case. They have to, if I were them, I would wake up every morning, go to every household to find out if there's a person with disability, so that we gather all of them and then send it to the assembly. By so doing, I don't think that the assembly can also deny them. So sometimes I think that we need to push the state institutions to do what they are supposed to do. But if society, we are also reluctant in terms of pushing some of these things, a government institution would always be reluctant in terms of
Jalil, you spoke about a structure and a system, but we all know that there's a 3% of our district assembly common fund must go to persons with disability. In his case, the money is not coming to him. The money probably is not being used. It's being used for something else. What is the missing link in our structure from agreeing that we have set aside money for persons with disability to an educational system that does not support them? What's the missing link?
I think that a lot of times, whether it's the constitution or it's the acts that we have, you see all the rights.
Okay.
Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people know the rights. That, I can access this right.
Right.
But then the responsibility, to assess the rights is where the challenges are. So you have a common fund situation where people are supposed to assess. Is either people are not aware of the fund, or even if they are aware, already there's a prejudice around people with disability. So I have children of about 5. one person has a disability, do I have to go and take this fund and take care of this child with disability? Maybe it's a no.
Is that where the hiding of the child comes in?
Absolutely. The hiding comes in that way, but there are other ways which brings about the hiding. Of course, the whole cultural stigma,
right,
and the way people perceive people with disability to be. I think that we have a system that is just not supporting.
It's not supportive enough. What can we do finally? What can we do moving forward?
I think that the advent of inclusive education is the way to go. And you'll notice that in terms of all the different institutional framework that you have in the policy, you have even traditional authorities who are supposed to play a certain part. They need to make sure that at least the child is getting into the classroom. They should make sure that at least if they give a land for a school to be built on, they are checking on the standards, whether there's a ramp for a child with a wheelchair and things like that. So I think in terms of all the different stakeholders that are supposed to support education of a person with disability become possible. I think we should all look
absolutely
at
right. I'll give you a final word, 30 seconds. What do we do moving forward?
Well, for me, we have to begin to implement the child and family welfare policy, looking at strengthening the community-based structures to help in identification of some of these issues. And then also, assembly must also be responsible, because the Children's Act gives them a certain responsibility in terms of what they have to do in respect to persons with disability. And our educational system too should be able to contain them, because the new structures that they've built do not even take into consideration this kind of friendly structures that even the law says that we should do. So
anyway,
all these steps we need to ensure that
13 years after these laws were passed, they are still not being implemented in many different forms. But I thank you very much, Brighter Pia, Child Rights International, and Jalil Odum, or Inclusion Ghana. Thank you very much for watching. It's Monday. Go out there and win. That's all we say to you. And know that if you can think it and your heart can believe it, only you can believe it. This conversation is made possible by Star Ghana with funding from the UK Aid, Danida, and DFID. We'll see you after tomorrow. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. Good morning.
We fight for the paper. Love me now, no be later. Keep